Listen to this episode if you have ever wondered, how do I actually audit my marketing and my sales process? What does that look like? How do I analyze it? And how do I really know if it's even working? Today, I get to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is data. I am a data nerd. And before you're like, nope, Maddie, I don't want to talk about data. It is one of the most important knowledge bases to have as a business owner because it allows you to make better decisions. It allows you to make decisions based on fact instead of feeling. It allows you to really have a good idea of the overall health of everything that you are working towards. That is what we're talking about today. This is one of my favorite topics because this is how we audit. This is how we track. This is how we see what is working and what is not working. If you're a client of mine or you've ever been in my world or we've ever had a conversation about your business, I have probably asked to either see your data or to look at some sort of number or having some sort of idea of what is a KPI, a key performance indicator inside of your business. There's a lot of different pieces here, but when it comes down to auditing your marketing and your sales process, it really does come down to data. And so we're going to go through that whole process today. How do we really do it? What does that analysis look like? And this is something that you can do at all stages of your business. We need to know from day one, literally day zero, day negative, but even pre-launch, we are looking at data. And if you talk to anybody that has built something successful, they know that data is really important because we have to make some of these decisions based on fact. And it allows us to be able to make better decisions, to problem solve easier, and to fill the gaps where we see. Just to give a little bit of context, this is actually a question that was submitted by one of you. Today is a Friday coaching sessions episode. This was submitted by somebody inside of our free podcast community, the Small Business Cafe. You can join it. We do free monthly live coaching calls. We have a lot of different things going on inside of there, but you can also submit your questions. She says, you always talk about analyzing marketing and seeing what is working and testing things, but how do I know if it's working? How do I actually audit my marketing? Do I go based on vibes, data? How do I read it all? I'm terrible at numbers. This is a little bit of a paraphrase from a long paragraph, but that is the gist of it. And I know that there's this like misconception that you have to be really good at numbers to be in business. That is not the case. You just have to know what your numbers mean and what it means for you. So we are going to talk about that today. Just before we dive in fully, I just want to say hello. My name is Madison Page. I am a business growth specialist and I am the host of the Small Business Growth Podcast. Here we teach small businesses how to turn into brands that are the next household name inside of their industry. I like to teach in a fun, conversational type of way. I like to say it's kind of like sipping coffee with a biz bestie, where you and I are sitting down, eating some brunch and actually having some hard conversation around business, raw and real and genuine business growth advice. I hope that you stick around. Make sure that you subscribe. We put out new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. Plus we have like 400 hours of episodes out there already. We would love to have you inside of this community. So how do we go about analyzing all of your data so you can actually audit your actions and see what it comes down to? If we make decisions based on feeling, based on vibes instead of fact, sometimes we can end up changing something that wasn't actually broken and then it actually makes something worse and we don't know what is going on. This is something that I see a lot is people are like just kind of testing a whole bunch of things. They try this, they try that, they do this for 6 weeks, they do that for a month, they're trying this other thing, and then they change their marketing and they never really know if it's working because they're not actually looking at the data, where they say, well, nothing is working. And that nothing basically means that their business didn't just blow up in 30 days and they're not seeing it. However, sometimes you can actually make a change that then reverts the change that you just made. So before you really change around your strategy, before you really make some big audacious changes or really commit to something for 12 months, we have to be able to make sure that the data is there to back it up, to see if it's worth it, if it's not working, to know when to pull the plug or to know when to keep on going. Now, there's a lot of different stages of business and there's a lot of different stages of the overall buying cycle. But what we do with my clients, and I do this week one with all of my clients, is I try to identify where their current sales bottleneck is. And every single client has a sales bottleneck of some kind. Even if your business is healthy, there is still a point where the majority of people are falling off. And that is where we need in order to increase your sales. In business, oftentimes the goal is how can we increase the sales? How can we increase profit? How can we increase kind of that bottom line? And what we're looking at here is we are looking at how can we audit the overall process to see how we can increase that bottom line the best. And so what we do is I have a buying cycle that I map out for all my clients. It's kind of like a framework. And every step we are looking at the different data to tell us if it's healthy or not. Basically, I want you to think right now, what is the process, the consumer behavior of somebody that finds you and buys from you? What is that looking like? They might hear from you from an influencer, then they come to your social media, they then follow you, then they watch your stories, they engage with your content, and then they check out your website, and then they're on your website, they might poke around, and then they might buy, they might join your email list. What are all of those different processes? Kind of those like micro commitments. What are the actions that a consumer generally takes with you? And there might be a couple of different channels here for your business, but what does that process overall look like? We're going to go through the marketing process and the sales process from a very zoomed out approach, just so you can get a good idea of this. But this is exactly what I do with all of my clients. And we're going to talk about, how to identify really the root cause of this and why reverse engineering it really makes sense. So first things first, what we're really looking at here, my major question is, how many people actually know you exist? Is that healthy? Is that enough? Do we have enough people to actually push through the rest of these stages? A lot of people think that they need visibility, but there's also a lot of people that come to me that have 50,000 followers that are making whatever, $10,000 a month. And they're saying, hey, Maddie, I need more people in order to convert more people, but that's not a visibility problem. Our first major question is, how many people at the core knows that your business is out there, knows that your business is there, they're around, and they're loving it, right? How many people have a brand awareness? This can be followers, this can be an email list, this can be, touch points, reach, all of those different pieces. The next one is how many people are actually seeing your content? Because I have people that have a lot of followers and their content just really isn't performing well at all. That would mean they might have a zoned out audience. Their audience isn't aligned, some of those different pieces. The next step is how many people are actually engaging. We're looking at those profile visits, the website clicks, the saves and the shares. This is the part where you start to see, especially when you're making content changes or marketing changes, things start to happen and move first. So a lot of times people will start to implement something for 30 days and their profile visits are up, their website clicks are up, their saves are up, their shares are up, their content is performing better, but people still aren't buying. So then they think they need to change their marketing again. But no, that marketing was actually working and it showed that we had engagement and that we had better numbers and more health in this section of the buying cycle. But people were coming to your website and they still weren't buying. That doesn't mean that it's this marketing problem. That doesn't mean it's a content issue. That means we have to look at a spot later on within this spectrum of the buying process. And so the next one is how many people are actually checking out your website. So, how many people are looking at your profile versus going to your website? How many website clicks are you getting a month across all of your channels? Now, everything we just talked about is marketing. That is the marketing process. And I think too many people think about marketing and sales as too much of either the same thing or too much of separate things. Right now, marketing and sales, they coincide with each other. They are all one process, but it's kind of split in half. Half of it is marketing and half of it is sales. One cannot exist without the other. You cannot have sales without marketing. You cannot really market if you don't have a sales process, because it just doesn't make sense to do. And so what we just talked about, visibility, we talked about engagement, we talked about reach, we talked about, checking you out and clearly showing signs of being activated. That is all marketing. Your goal of your marketing is to activate people. So what we're looking at there is the data to prove what is actually working. The next steps is all the sales process. How many people are going to your website? How are they engaging once they're on your website? Are they bouncing? How many sessions do you have? How long are they staying? How many different pages are they going to? Are they adding something to your cart? Are they abandoning your cart? Are they joining your email list? How much are they buying? What is your average order value? And are they buying again, or do they really only buy once? So you can see how we can really now see this entire buying process in front of us through the lens of data. From A to Z, we're looking at how many people know that you exist, to all the way to how often are people buying? How many people know you exist? How often are they seeing your marketing? How often are they engaging in your marketing? Are they showing signs of being activated? Okay, now they're going to your website. We've moved into the sales process. They're to your website. How long are they spending on your website? Are they showing interest in your products? Are they confused? Are they adding to cart? Are they buying from you? Are they buying from you again? Are they buying enough product? Does it really make sense? When we really look at all of those pieces, each and every one of those has 1 to 3 probably data pieces that we want to be able to analyze. We can look at your average order value, your abandoned cart rate, your bounce rate, your conversion rate. On the sales side, we can look at your website clicks, your engagement, your reach, your followers, your activation strategies. How can we see where that exists? Hey, I'm jumping in here for 30 quick seconds for those of you who are loving the podcast but wish we could dive deeper into every episode topic together. I have actually started a completely free podcast community called the Small Business Cafe for exactly this purpose. Inside this community, we dive deeper into every podcast episode, provide bonus resources, and actually host completely free monthly coaching calls with me, so you can get your questions answered. Plus, you get to submit your questions for our Friday coaching session episodes and connect with other founders too. If you have been loving being a part of this podcast and want to connect with other brand founders, plus get extra support from me, click the link in the show notes below to join. Now, when it comes to auditing, I'm sure right now you're like, Maddie, that sounds great, but I don't know what this data means. I look at it and my head starts spinning and I'm like, great, what does that mean that I really need to change? I want you to think about this and reverse engineer it. I want you to look, okay, what is the overall goal? Is to get people to buy often. We want people to buy over and over and over again. This is called CLV. You'll hear people say it. It's the customer lifetime value, because it's much cheaper and much easier to keep customers than trying to acquire new customers all of the time. So, we look at this, how can we improve our return customer rate? We want a healthy return customer rate to know that we have new people coming in as well as we have people coming back. So are people buying again? What is that return customer rate? Let's see its health. The next step, let's go back. Are people even buying? How much are they buying? Is your average order value more than one product really at the end of the day? Do we have more than one product in there? What is that average order value? Is it healthy? Does it mean that people are loading up? What does it really mean for you? And then we want to look at your overall conversion rate. Is that conversion rate high? Where are they falling off? And so then we kind of go back up this overall cycle and we try to see what is the first number that is unhealthy, working backwards, reverse engineering it. Because oftentimes, if everything is healthy prior to that, that tells us that that is your overall sales bottleneck. And so we kind of are looking at this, and what this takes is understanding benchmarks, understanding what data you're really looking for, and having systems set up in order to actually track this data. All of my clients, we do some element of data tracking, making sure that we're keeping an eye on it, adding in some different systems to make sure that we have ideas and eyes on all different phases. I am often looking at people's Shopify data, their metadata, their email data. I'm looking at all of the stages of all marketing and sales process to be able to see where is this overall gap so we can really look at this. I get so many people come to me, Maddie, I need visibility. I need brand awareness. I know if I could just get in front of 1 million people, my sales would be where they want to be. However, I look at their data and they have 20,000 followers and they only have 5,000 sessions, but their conversion rate is 0.5% on their website. That tells me they don't have a visibility problem. They have a sales problem. They have a conversion problem. That means they need to make changes on their overall website. And this is how we audit and decide where you need to make a change. And so this isn't a visibility problem. That's a website problem or a sales process problem, or somebody is confused in the sales process, in the buying process. So I'll give you this example. I had a call with somebody this week and she was like, Maddie, my marketing is terrible. I know my website is terrible. I have a ton of sales on Etsy, but I can't make these sales direct to consumer no matter what I try. I've been trying this. I've been trying your strategy and your content. Why is this not working? I'm just about to make this major content shift. I want to do this content strategy. I said, all right, let's pull up your Shopify data. And their Shopify data, they had 5,000 sessions. Their conversion rate was 0.4%. They only made a couple of sales, in the last month or 2 months or whatever this time frame was. And they were trying to change their marketing. The marketing was not the root cause. cause. They were bringing 5,000 people in the last 30 days to their website, but they only converted a couple of them. They only converted at 0.4%. A healthy percentage is like 2 to 4% is what we're looking for, which tells me they could have quadrupled their sales if their sales process was just more streamlined. So now what do I do when I identify that first major point that is actually the breakdown in their data? Now I dig deeper and I say, let's look at how many sessions per customer. Let's look at where are people falling off? What is the common site that they're actually bouncing on? And we were able to identify by looking at all of her data that people were confused in the buying process. So then I pulled up her product listings and I said, hey, you have a very custom approach to your product listings. People probably have too many options. They don't know what to do. They get overwhelmed. They have decision fatigue and then they bounce. So what we did together was basically come up with what this plan was to streamline this buying process and capture the eyes that she already has. This is like having a knee problem. You're like, oh my gosh, my knee hurts. I have this pain in my knee, and you're looking only at the 4 inches of your knee. Oh my gosh, I have to have a knee problem, but actually you have tight muscles in your hips and you have a bad back, and that is making you have to adapt in the way that you walk, which is then putting pressure on your knee. The obvious symptom that nobody is buying, so I have to then, go and change my marketing, is not always the root cause of the overall problem. Just because you're saying you feel like the content is there, that is like that making a decision over feeling, is you're feeling like your content is the problem. However, it's not your content. Your content is working. You are bringing people to your website. What we have to do is change in the buying process where people are falling off. Another example, you say, I have a lot of people come to me, Maddie, I just know I need a new website. I know my website is bad. It's just not selling to anybody. I make sales in person all the time, but my website is just not converting. So I think I'm going to hire somebody to build out a solid website. But I go and I look at your website and it's optimized and it's branded and you have a conversion rate of 5 to 6%, but you only have 50 people a month coming to your website, which means you're only going to make one sale every couple of months because you just don't have enough people. So now when we see that, your website isn't technically the problem. We don't have enough people coming to your website to be able to see, what does this really look like? Is that really the breakdown? What this tells me is we don't have enough people, going back to that sales process, checking out your website, which is oftentimes actually a marketing problem. So then we have to go back and look at your content. We have to go back and look at your community, your engagement, your branding, and then see and identify where the breakdown is there. Do you have 10,000 followers, but only 50 views to your website? Do you have people engaged? They're just not lurking. That tells us what we have to change. So there is no one size fits all approach here. What this takes is you having to be able to know what numbers to look at, what the numbers mean, what the benchmarks are, and then be able to infer what that means based on the buying cycle. So for me, I have analyzed thousands of different data pieces at this point. I look at people's website data, their Shopify, their Etsy data, their email data, their marketing, on TikTok, on Instagram, so much data. Your girl has a numbers brain. I've always had a numbers brain. I could not pass a US history test right now. I could pass a calculus exam, and I haven't taken calculus in like 10 years. All right. Like my brain, it just works in numbers. It always has. I've had this number style brain. I can look at your numbers and be able to find the root cause within just a couple of minutes because I know those pieces. I can look at, this is what data is here. This is what this means. This is where your breakdown is. Let's look at this whole entire process. So what I would recommend you do here is you do exactly that. I want you to audit your entire process and find where your breakdown is. Go from your return customer rate to your conversion rate to, your return customer rate to your average order value to your conversion rate, and work your way all the way up and try to be able to identify this. This is why data-informed decisions are so important, because what this means is that person was just about to go spend $10,000 on getting a new website designed, but it wasn't their website, it was their marketing. This allows you to see, what do we prioritize? As a business owner, I get this question a lot. As a business owner, how do I know what to prioritize first in order to make sales, in order to make the quickest changes? Going into the holiday season, This is really important. We have to be able to analyze your data to know where is your current sales breakdown so we can plug that gap now so we can optimize the eyes you already have. Many people, you don't actually need big crazy changes like a new website or 10,000 more followers in order to actually see an increase in sales. Those are not the most common actual sales breakdowns that we need to scrap things all together or we need to massively expand. And like I have clients that have 3,000 followers that are making almost $200,000 a year in product sales. A lot of times you don't need a crazy amount of followers in order to have a multi-six-figure business. There's different kind of breakdowns for every different business. And so going into the holidays, I know that everybody's rolling their eyes when I say holidays right now, but the brands that are winning are thinking about the holidays right now, even though it's the end of August. What they're doing is we're auditing this. This is what I do with my clients right now is I'm auditing all of their data and I'm saying, okay, what do we need to do and change and prioritize in the short term to be able to plug these gaps and to kind of fill your overall leaky bucket that you have. It takes an understanding of data, but when you understand data, it allows you to make data-informed decisions, know what to prioritize in your strategy, and know exactly where you need to be putting your energy and your focus. Because too often, people are just looking at business as a whole. They're saying, all right, nobody's buying, or my content sucks, or my followers aren't growing. And it's like, that is what we see as the symptom. That doesn't mean that that is the root cause of all of our issues. We have to be able to identify that. Again, this is something that we do with all of our clients because it's so incredibly important. And if you've ever been in a call with me, my question usually is like, my clients roll their eyes. I'm like, well, what does Shopify say? What's your conversion rate? What is your engagement? Like you're saying your content isn't working. How has your engagement changed over the last 30 days since you've been doing that? And I know it's so annoying. And I know sometimes I'm like, okay, well, let's just test it. And you're like, well, what does that mean? It's like, all right, let's make the change and see how the data changes. We make one change and see, okay, did that change your conversion rate? Does that make your email list, convert at a higher percentage? Let's edit how we do these pieces and see in the data if that change actually made sense or not. That is what we're testing. And I say that to my clients all the time. Let's test this. So I see in your data, let's make these changes and then set an alarm for 30 days and see, or 14 days and see, how has this changed your data? Is your data up? Is your data down? What's going on? And how do we really do that overall? So what I recommend you do after listening to this is I want you to write down all of those processes. I want you to really write down what the difference between marketing and sales is. And I want you to go through your own sales and marketing. I want you to identify, work your way backwards and identify, okay, this is the first point. You might have to do some research. You have to identify what the benchmarks are within your brand, within your industry, within your product. What is the benchmark that we are trying to hit with all of these different data points, and how can we really go about this? This is a part of having a marketing strategy, is knowing how to audit your sales and your marketing and your changes, because it doesn't matter if you know what to do, you're going and doing it, but you don't know if it's working. You have to be able to do this. And this is something that I do often in my own business. I do like a full audit probably every 90 days, every quarter, but I am looking at my data at least weekly to look at how many people came to my website, how many people filled out my application, what is the conversion rate on all of them, and how is that really going about doing it. I recommend you do that this week. And then what your goal is to start making strategic changes to fill those gaps now, to allow for that momentum to build and for you to be able to see that change in data and to see the change by the time the holidays are here and that people are starting to buy. We need to find and identify where in your marketing and your sales process is your bottleneck to be able to plug that hole and let us keep on moving. Let your customer move to that next stage in the overall buying cycle. I hope this was helpful for you. This is something that I do with all of my clients. If you want my eyes on your data to help you figure out and analyze, again, I do this in just truly a couple of minutes because I've looked at so much of it. I can come into your business, teach you how to analyze your data, teach you the benchmarks, teach you how to do this, and I can also kind of give you the action plan with it. This is exactly how I create a custom growth plan for all of my clients. Is I look at their data, I know what it means based on their marketing and their sales, and I give them a plan based on their data so we know how to increase your overall sales. We do have our holiday support event going on right now, which gives you extra bonuses and some surprises inside with some extra support. So if you are looking to either get started or if you're looking to scale or whatever stage of business you are at, if you want help with this process, this is something that I do with all of my clients. And we do have a little bonus holiday sales event going on right now. So you can come on over to my Instagram at This Is Madison Page. You can check it out there, or you can apply in the link in the show notes, and I will kind of give you some details and we'll find the support option that makes the most sense for you. You can either DM me data and we can chat on Instagram, or fill out that application and we can talk about if that feels like something that would be more supportive for you than you trying to figure it out on your own. This is how you audit. This is what having a marketing and a sales strategy is I know what I'm going to execute and what I'm changing. And then you know how to be able to look at your data and analyze it, see if it's working, and then make further changes. You make those changes, then you analyze the data. How is it working? We are constantly trying to improve over and over and over again. Whether my clients are making $5 million or they're making $5,000, we are analyzing their data so we can constantly improve, so we can make factual decisions rather than making feeling decisions. Now, there of course are times where we're like, my gut is telling me this, my instinct is to do these things. And those are sometimes we can chase those, but we can't do that with absolutely everything in business. Your girl is a strategy brain. She's a numbers brain. You have to be able to know your data. And I have seen how understanding the data and understanding your numbers in business can really change the outcome and improve and fast track the growth. Because if you can make data informed decisions, you can see exactly what's working. So you can then double down on what's working and ixnay what's not working, cut out what's not working, and double down on the things that are, which then fast tracks your growth, allows your growth to happen a little bit quicker. I hope this was helpful for you. I am so glad that we were able to have this conversation today. I hope you subscribe. We put out new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. We sit here and we have some good old genuine business conversations. I love you. I'm rooting for you. I'm in your corner always. I will see you in the next episode. If you found today's episode helpful and are looking for more tangible ways to grow your business, make sure you are subscribed to the show. If you want to dive deeper into this topic more, click the link in the show notes and join our completely free podcast community, where we dive into every single podcast topic, as well as give some bonus support and free coaching calls. And finally, if you are interested in getting my eyes on your business to find your hidden opportunities to scale, apply to work with me one-on-one in the show notes or on our website. Remember, it's not enough to listen. Don't forget to implement too. I love ya. I'll see you in the next episode.